We have a quorum. So anyway, I guess that means that we can start and you can take roll.
Okay. So we will call to order at 6:04 p.m. Commissioner Hines Silvas.
I'm here.
Commissioner Diana.
Here.
Commissioner Freeman.
Here.
Commissioner Jones.
Here.
Commissioner White. And Commissioner Salam. And I guess, do I need to share my screen? Okay.
So we have a quorum. So I guess I should have called the meeting to order, but thank you for doing that, Alyssa. To start with
No
the roll call.
problem.
Sorry, we got a little bit out of order, but so we're in order. We've had the roll, and now I'd like to turn your attention to the minutes of our May 27th meeting, and I entertain a motion for approval of the minutes from May 27th.
I move to approve.
Patty moves to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Chris with a second. Is there discussion on the minutes? Any corrections or comments on the minutes? No. Okay. Hearing
My
none.
memory doesn't go that far back for correct.
They look good to me too. All in favor of approving the minutes as written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and the minutes from May 27th are approved.
Point of order, since we are having the meetings virtual, due to the Public Act from the governor, there has to be a roll call for every vote, so that includes the approval of the minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jason. I was just going to say, we have to do roll for that.
Okay.
Do you want me to call it then?
Yes, thank you, Alyssa.
Okay. Commissioner Silvas.
Approve.
Commissioner Diana.
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman.
Approve.
Commissioner Jones.
Approve.
Okay.
So the meeting minutes are formally approved. Thank you, Alyssa. Are there any additions to the agenda? And the agenda was provided on the website. Any additions to that agenda for tonight? No? Okay. So let's go to public input. And I think I'm going to switch over to the attendees list. So Jim, you are here as a member of the public. Do you want to provide any input? Or if you wanted to, you can wait till there's an item on the agenda that you want to speak to, or you can just provide input now, either way.
You're muted, Jim.
So Jim, I see you're still muted.
Yeah, Jim, if you did want to speak, there you go. Now you're unmuted.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I apologize. I didn't have my webcam in. I just was, I don't have any comment. I'm just here to attend.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Okay, so now we're down to item 5 on the agenda, which is presentations, including the staff report.
Okay, Alyssa, you want me to start?
That is fine with me.
A couple of things I want to touch base with you on. One of the difficulties we've had lately is the timing of things, because things are having to get through to you quickly, but we don't necessarily always have the information in a timely way to get to you for input. So I'll talk about that a little bit later when we get to the home amendment. But to give you an update on the COVID programs that you approved back in June, the program officially launched, the business program and the rent assistance program both launched in July. August 12th, we had the HUD requirements met where we could start dispersing funds. And so 28 agencies, businesses were approved for funding for a total of $251,000. It is a reimbursement program, and we had a nice diverse group of businesses. We had hair salons, we had small restaurants, taverns, we had small like the acupuncture center. So there was just a wide variety of agencies, and that notice is on our web page if you wanted to take a look at it in more detail, or we can mail it to you. The other program, our rent assistance program, we've received 30 applications. 6 of those have been denied for various reasons. Either they didn't live in the city of Urbana, or they are voucher holders with the Housing Authority, which makes them unable to apply, or they were behind on their rent prior to COVID. So that makes them not eligible. But to date, we have funded 14 of those agencies or tenants, and most of those we've given the full 3 months assistance to. We have 9 other people that we're working closely with to get the documentation in and working with their landlords to get copies of their rent roll and lease. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we will continue to fund them as well. I think that's the biggest thing on our plate right now, as far as where staff has been focusing their time, either, training on COVID or trying to get COVID out the door. One of the big concerns in the community is the impact of evictions, and thankfully the moratorium has kind of kept that at bay. But just so that this group knows, we do have a group from the shelters, both cities, the county, both townships, Cunningham and Champaign, that meet on a regular basis to talk about homeless issues, renters, housing assistance, just because we want to stay on top of this before it becomes a community problem. And especially as winter is starting to come, we definitely don't want people out on the streets. So there's about $300,000 of local dollars between the county and both cities that have been allocated towards rent assistance. Champaign has had 6 applicants. We've had 30. And then the county has processed a little over 80. And then they have kind of put a stop for a couple of weeks because they have 125 applications that they need to work their way through. And so rather than have that window open where they not even sure how much they can continue to fund, they kind of have shut it off. And then it's later on in the agenda, but we are expecting emergency solutions grants to come to the city. One of them, Melissa will talk to you about in a little bit, that Urbana will administer, but the county will get some of the money, and some Champaign agencies will get some of the money. So all told, there'll be a little over $700,000 available to help people with shelter and housing needs in the community. We have been talking with one of the judges who handles evictions, and right now in the court system pending is 50 evictions, but with the moratorium they can't move forward. We are not sure how many are just pending, that where the landlord or agency has the package ready to take to the courthouse but not is moving forward. So we're hoping with these rent assistance programs that helps the landlord get caught up as well as the tenant, and we have some of these evictions go away. Anybody have any questions?
I would just add that from the perspective of all of the landlords and commercial property owners that I deal with, there's a lot in the pipeline. Most people are not bothering to file those because they aren't going to go anywhere right now. So
Right.
they're just sitting on that paperwork. But yeah, it's kind of becoming a desperate situation from the other end of the spectrum also.
Oh.
And you have a lot of landlords right now who are putting properties up for sale, and they're on the verge of going under because they
Right.
can't maintain it. So yeah, it's the more help that we can give to that issue and get it to the renters and through them to the landlords, because that's a group that has really had no specific assistance from any federal or state program since this
Right.
is-
So the success that Urbana has had has really been through the property managers or property owners actually taking the paperwork to their tenants who are behind and soliciting it. So Chris, if you know anybody, have them reach out to Alyssa or me so that, you know, we can continue to help as many as we can. We gave an update last night at council, and with COVID, we really aren't doing any of our rehab programs unless it's an absolute emergency, just trying to maintain that social distancing. And so if there is a, you know, really big demand for this and we need to allocate more money, you know, we may pull funds from that pot, because I see this as kind of, this program as a win-win, because we're not only helping the tenant maintain housing, you're right, we are helping the landlord with his business, because the funds are paid directly to the landlord.
Right. Yeah, I think that's good. I think the more information that can get out on those programs to the public, because right now it's something, I won't say totally, but I think it's something of a semi-adversarial relationship between landlords and tenants right now. So
Yeah.
there's a whole lot of cooperation going on. Landlords are not tying into the idea you're talking about working with the tenant to get that paperwork to them. And some of the tenants are not concerned about it because right now it's not something that's hanging over them. So
Right.
the more information that can get out on that, the better, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think if we can get some of the landlords on board and be proactive, it's a win-win.
Yep.
Is there anything more in the staff report then, Sheila?
Not from me. I'm not sure with what Alyssa has to share. Working remotely, I feel like we don't connect as much. So
You can't just reach over and look at her papers.
right.
I do not have anything additional to add to the staff report. I think
Okay.
what I have to add will come later.
Okay, all right. I wondered if you were going to talk about some of the things under new business. So thank you, Sheila, for the staff report and for that update. Sounds like you guys are really working hard, doing the best you can, getting a lot done. How about unfinished business? Is there anything we need to add to the agenda for unfinished business? Okay, then we'll go to new business, and that starts with those 3 items, the CSSF funding recommendations.
A quick question. We lost Robert.
Yeah.
Is that okay if we're under quorum right now? Or is that?
He lost connection with the meeting, but it's working on his end.
Okay, so if we have another vote, then Alyssa, maybe he can email.
Yeah, I
did
don't
he email
think he just emailed me. I don't think we have any votes tonight, though. Just
Okay, all right.
information sharing.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, so last night we went to council and we presented our recommendations for the Consolidated Social Service Fund. And so we recommended funding 17 programs. We had a total of 31 programs that had applied. Agencies that were denied they either had incomplete applications, they were part of taxing bodies, or they did not meet immediate needs. And we really tried to also factor in the fact that we're in the middle of a pandemic and agencies have had their programs change. So 4 agencies gave us updates to their program. And then the other agencies we looked at, we really just tried to make sure, how is everyone going to get helped right now, especially with greater demand for certain social services? We also have a smaller funding pool this year than last year. So we have $175,000 this year. Last year we had about $225,000. So we did have to really try to be as selective as possible with our funding. And I think for the most part, we did a pretty good job of the agencies we did fund, either meeting their full request or very close to it. And if you guys want, I can email you out this list, but we're going to go back to council in September and get our final approval for everything. And then I believe our CDBG funding will be a family service, part of a family service program. And we've already delayed the process. I don't remember the last time we met. I think it was after council, but we already delayed the process. So we could adjust for COVID and take more time with that. But we did originally fund 3 programs in May. So those were Wesley, Healthcare Consumers, and Solo Gracia, just because we felt like they were programs that were really helping people right now. So we will hopefully have final decisions in September.
So in the meantime, then, Alyssa, can you just email us so we can kind of see where you are, and then we'll be a little bit more familiar with it when you talk about it in September.
Yes. Yep. So I will send you what we have, what we put out. I'll send you our council memo.
Oh,
and it has a chart of everything.
okay. And so we don't have to vote on any of that, do we?
No, and we already decided our CDBG priorities, which
Yeah.
I forgot.
I remember we did work on those.
But we
already.
we did talk about that.
The emergency solutions grant that Alyssa's going to update you on now, this is one of those timing issues. We are pending approval at the state of Illinois, but once we get it, just because it's housing and rent assistance, I didn't want to wait till the end of September for you guys to know about it. And then it would be the middle of October before it went to council and got out. So we brought it to you at this stage, knowing what we've applied for, to get your input and feedback so that we don't delay the funding once it gets to the community.
Okay, and that's one of the attachments that you had sent in your email to commissioners.
Correct. So yeah, this is through the Illinois Department of Human Services, and it's the Emergency Solutions Grant, which we've administered before, but this one is specific to COVID. And so there's 5 different categories that people can offer programs. So those would be emergency shelters, or operation of emergency shelters, hotel, motel vouchers, essential services like childcare, education, employment, health services, and then homelessness prevention and rapid rehousing. So because we've received a grant for ESG in the past, we can act as a fiscal sponsor for Cunningham Township and See You at Home. And they've not received ESG funds, and IDHS wants people with experience to kind of have that oversight and administration. So they will be our sub-grantees, and Cunningham Township will be doing a rapid rehousing program, and their budget that we've applied for is $128,700, and then $12,870 for administrative funding. And so this will be rapid rehousing, which includes relocation and stabilization, along with tenant-based rental assistance. And then See You at Home is applied for $42,947 for emergency shelter for men and women. They are opening year-round, and we'll have separate places for men and women, so that's coming. And then admin for that would be $4,294. And so this will all be covered by grant funds by IDHS, and just continuing to work, like our work with Continuum of Service Providers for the Homeless. So that's a group that we're active in. I sit on the executive committee for. And so we have a lot of partnerships with homeless providers as well. So this will be a continuation of those services.
So I guess I would ask, do you prefer that we bring this back the end of September and then take it to council in October, or is reviewing it now in order to get the funds out into the community the quickest? Is that okay?
I like the idea of getting funds out as fast as we can.
During the pandemic is my concern. You know, if it's a normal year, I'm not as concerned about it, but
Yeah, I agree.
I would agree with the rapidity. I would wonder in looking at that, were there any applications or have there been any applications that are more on the proactive end than the reactive end? The way this program was written, you know, like it says in there, it's to, what does it say there? Individuals experiencing homelessness and individuals at risk of becoming homeless. And most of the programs that I hear or see are for people who have become homeless. So then it's a shelter or it's a hotel or something versus, an example would be a single mom with a couple of kids who are childcare age. So if she can't go to work, she's going to be homeless. If she can get childcare, she won't be homeless.
that's where the tenant-based rental assistance comes in.
That's good. Because I was hoping we were somewhere on there. Otherwise, it's always more expensive to deal on the reactive end than the proactive end. Yeah.
Yep, you're right.
Good.
And also, other agencies are getting this funding through our continuum of care. So these are just the two agencies that we're being fiscally responsible for, and they're going to be our sub-grantees. But community-wide, there are other agencies and programs with services. So RPC has eviction prevention and a data entry service, so funding for that. And then there's the township and crisis nursery, See You at Home. So yeah, there are other types of programs. So these are just the two that we're responsible for.
Right. Good.
So Chris, you're okay with the immediate action, and
I think
I am too.
there's nothing to be served by throwing someone who's already drowned a life preserver.
Yeah. So, Alyssa and Sheila, do we need to vote on this, or can we just give a general recommendation for moving forward with the program as you've outlined it here in this memo?
I think it's okay to say that we discussed it and that the commission was in favor of us moving forward with it. But since we don't have a formal agreement, I don't know that there's really anything for you to make a motion on or vote on.
Yeah.
Is that right, Chris?
I think, I mean, the only thing that I think we might have ever done with things like this in the past is just pass along our comment or our endorsement to council so that they knew we had already looked at it and were in favor of it. So.
Okay.
Okay, so that's consistent with what we just said. We endorse it and appreciate your efforts to get it out sooner rather than later. So the last thing on the list is the tenant-based rental assistance. Or did we talk about that when you talked about the other programs, or is there additional information on that?
No, there's additional information. Last year in the 1920 City of Champaign Home Funds, they set aside about $70,000 for tenant-based rental assistance. And then just for a variety of reasons, it wasn't needed. It didn't really move forward. But then with COVID, we have developed, as part of the program manual you guys looked at and approved, an emergency or COVID-related TBRA program. HUD didn't give any additional funding for this program, but they did allow some flexibilities. And so in our TBRA program manual, I believe you guys looked at that in May, that was, those flexibilities were included in that. Well, now we're at a point where we need to move it forward. HUD has not approved our 2021 plan, although we're expecting the contract agreements any day. And so I wanted to bring it to you to see if the allocation, we have some old funding, like a down payment assistance program that just was not used. And then this City of Champaign money that we would like to put together and reallocate to this home TBRA. And so once these funds disappear, like our CDBG assistance for rent is only available for 3 months, then they can be transferred to this other program and get additional assistance through the end of December. But again, you know, I can't make a formal action on it until I have approval for my 2021 plan. But I didn't want to wait till the end of September, so wanted to bring it to you now.
And you're not asking us for a formal response. It's just more of what you're planning, and do we think it's going in the right direction?
Correct.
Okay.
And just for those of you new to the board, home funds have to be used to produce an affordable housing unit. So that's either rent assistance or housing rehab or like helping Habitat build a house or those kind of things. And so right now what we're hearing the loudest in the community is this rent assistance need that, you know, Chris addressed earlier. And the way that program is designed, it'll be the same as the others, where the assistance will go directly to the landlord on behalf of the tenant.
Any comments or concerns or
No, I
discussion?
think it sounds great. I think it's good to get this moving.
Mhm.
I think it's essential with the high percentage of rental residents versus owner residents that we have in this area, which is literally the highest in the state. That's something we just absolutely need to be addressing, no question. So.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Sheila.
Yep. Yeah, in September, we hopefully will have CHOTO applications, and then, you know, just try to give you guys running updates on these programs. Things are just moving fast and furious, so not trying to leave anybody out of the loop, but yet get the money out the door to those that need it.
Mhm. Any other comments on these programs that we just reviewed? No? You guys did a good job explaining everything.
Thank you.
Since there are no other items on our agenda, I will adjourn